Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Coffee Chug, and I am here to walk you through our next project, the Team Chooser. So I've got my cup of coffee. I hope you've got your computer. I hope you're settled in. You got your cup of water, or iced tea, or we're in Iowa and it's April and we're supposed to have snow today, so maybe hot chocolate. Whatever you got, let's settle in. Cause I'm going to take you through all the different steps and challenges to this week's coding challenge. This does come from, just to give complete credit where it's due, I did not create this challenge. This comes from the Code Club projects that we've been working on with students that are building. And so, taking you through these various steps that they have created, you can go there and check it all out. And so, what I have is I have my own website kind of based on this where I've got my own examples of code and ideas, and I just take the ideas and I tweak them a little bit to further explain. So I've got my site here. I'll link it in the show notes, but you can also just make sure you understand this comes from Code Club and Raspberry Pi organization. Now I'm going to be using Trinket. It's what I like because I can store it online. I can take it wherever I go. You can use Python 3, whatever your coding platform is for Python. This all works. So as you see Trinket here, if you're using a different setup, it's perfectly fine. Don't freak out because you don't have Trinket. But Trinket's nice because it allows you to share code easily. And I would love to see your work. I'd love to see the things that you're doing, especially if you're using this tutorial. 'Cause it's always nice to see how things are going. So let's jump in. This particular project is a team chooser. So the goals of this project are to help you have a code or a program that makes decisions. It stores variables, and it also is going to expose you to the concept of creating files or lists. And so as we dive into this is just going to expand your work a little bit. Where last week we dove into the turtle race and learning how to code and make things move and manipulate. Now we're going to learn how to kind of do some more storage. This is all building in to help you eventually create your own text-based adventure game. And so we're layering in these examples that have already been created on the internet to help you go. All right, guys. So let's dive into this. Because I'm using just regular Python, I'm going to layer this. I got to layer this code in here just so they Trinket knows that I'm using Python 3. You won't need that if you're already in Python 3, but I've got to put that in there. And the very first thing we're going to do is I'm assuming that you've done the other tutorials, so I'm not going to break down every single line of code that we're doing because a lot of these things you should be familiar with by this point. And so we're going to go through and we're going to create a list of players here. And I'm just going to pull this, get this out of the way here, just in case I want to reference a couple key things here from the old notes. And so what we're doing in this particular aspect here, when we use the square brackets, we can create variables that can store a list of players. And so that's what we're going to do. Players is our variable, as you have learned. And we're going to put these square brackets in. And I can make these whoever I want. So I'm just going to... Now, for the beginning one, you want to make sure this is important that you actually have an even amount of players. It's just going to make your life easier here in the beginning. And the key is you also want a comma between each of these. And so then when you do that, we're just going to go through and just so you can see that this works, we're going to go ahead and print. And so we can just go here and we can print players. And when we run this, it should print those four names. Uh-oh, see, we got an error already, don't we? You know why? Anyone? Okay, guys. I throw these in here just for a challenge. Hopefully you recognize we didn't have our quotes. So we need to knock all these guys in there because these are the things that we want to be stored. Boom. So there we go. Now we can see our team right here. We got Alf, Mask, what a great cartoon, Hulk Hogan, and Mr. T, right? So the next thing that we can do with this is we can actually, if we don't want to print out all of them, maybe we just want to showcase one or two of these players. And so the really exciting thing that we can do here is we can actually go through and print out different positions from this list of variables. So we've got our four variables here. So in this print here with players, I can add this other special command. I can add in another square bracket. Now remember with Python, we're going to go through. Remember, alpha is actually going to be considered 0, and then 1, 2, 3. So remember, when we code here in Python, it doesn't start at 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's go 3 just so you can see this. And it should print just Mr. T. Boom. There it is. So this is going to allow you to pull specific people's names or variables from the list um, as needed. Okay. So I'm going to go through. I'm just going to tweak this a little bit for the sake of my code, and I'm just going to add in my family for the sake of these tutorials, just because it makes sense with the way I have things built out. So I'm going to switch this over here. Um, I've got 5 people in here, so I'm just going to add one more. I'm going to add our bulldog, Frankie May, so we've got 6. All right, so you can see here that we're printing this. I can go here to 2, and it's going to print a different name. All right, so we're in good shape. But if we want to create a team chooser, then we need to go through and we need to get some variables here, right? So this is probably remind you of your glory days of middle school and PE when they picked and you just prayed you weren't the last kid to be chosen, right? 'Cause that's always a terrible feeling, and hopefully no one has had to experience that. So we're going to go right above where we've been, and now we're moving into challenge number 2 here, and we're going to add our from random, and we've used this before, and so we're going to create a choice, and it's going to randomly pick the names from us. Okay, so we've got our players right here. All right, we got our players printed, and I'm just gonna go back and just print all of these. So I'm actually gonna remove this specific choice one right here. And what I want to do, um, let's say that I wanted to, just so you can see the bigger picture here. I'm gonna pick 2, and then I'm gonna do this again here. I'm gonna knock this down, and let's pick we'll pick 6, make sure this still works. All right. Oh, we don't have 6, right? Because that's right, first one is 0, so we need to make that 5. Boom, there we go. So we got Aiden, Frankie May being printed. But we can go through and we can start to add some new code here. And so the thing that we can do is we can start to store some options up in here. So we're going to create a new list to store the players for. We're going to call it Team A for the sake of this tutorial. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to call this Team A, and we're going to add that in there. Okay, and then I'm actually going to delete these out because we don't need those. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pick, Team A is going to pick their first player. So player A is going to equal the choice of players. Now what this is going to do, it's going to randomly pick one of these names, and we're going to go ahead and print that player's name just so we can see what's been selected. All right, um, and then we're going to go through and we're going to add one more line of code, and we're going to add that person's name, to the end. So if I run this, okay, it's not quite ready yet. You can see there's a glitch here. So Team A, we got to append player A. Okay, so oh my god, spelling error there. Boom. Okay, so now I can see that it chose Addy for their player. I can run this again. It's going to pick a different name every time. You can see the names being chosen down there. But we want to go through. We don't want it where they can pick the same person over and over again, right? Like we don't want to have them. You can't pick the same person twice in life, right? Once it's picked, they're gone. So we're going to go ahead and remove this player from the list. Okay, so I've got this in here, and now it's actually going to remove the list. And then if I wanted to, I could add another line just to make sure that this works. So let's go through here and let's print. Let's go with, here is who is left. All right, so we're going to put that in there. And then we're going to add our players just to see what's left. So now it should go the names, it'll pick who was chosen, and then it'll show what's left. Let's see if that happens. Boom, so it picked Frankie May. Here's who's left. You can see that Frankie May is not in this list. So just to clarify this, I could sit there and say Team A has selected, and put that in quotes. So now we can kind of see this better here. So Team A has selected Addy. Here's who's left. And then now we got our choices. Okay, so there's that code. as we get through. So now as you're starting to go through, I know I'm going fast, and you can go, like I said, go to the link in the to my website, and I've got all this code embedded here. You're going to easily be able to check this code out, and we should be in good shape. And you can study it more kind of at your own pace. So as we go through here, let's jump into the challenge. So the challenge was, how do we create a second team? So how do we get another team going on in this work? And so all we're going to do is the same kind of work, but we're just going to add another team. And so here are the players like we've had before. I forgot to add in Frankie May here. Can't leave out my bulldog, right? We're going to print the players. Here's Team A. Team A is going to choose their player, then remove that player and print what's left. And then Team B is going to do the same thing down here and show that. So now, when we go to run this, you can see all I've done is just copied here and just changed the variables. As opposed to player A, I went to player B, and I've just made those adaptations accordingly. So now it shows everybody, right? Here's the list. Team A chose Frankie May. Here are the players left: Aaron, Amanda, Aiden, Addie, Ava. Frankie May's not in there. Team B chose Aiden. So now we're just left with Aaron, Amanda, Addie, and Ava. Okay, so now all we've done is we've created a new team. This is Team B right here. And then we had the random player, player B, just like we did up here with player A. And this is a random choice. And then we added that name to the list, and we removed the name from the list, and we just printed it again. So hopefully you can see that. It's not too difficult, but you can start to see here how we could add multiple layers to all of this project. So the question then, as we move into the next challenge, really, is how do we choose lots of players? So this is only choosing one player. We still got 4 people left, and you're not just going to go play your game from that point. We got to make sure everybody's included in this, right? Everybody deserves a chance to be selected and contribute to the team process, correct? So what we need to do here is we need to move everything into a loop. So we want this to keep going through until everybody has been selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to move Team B up here just for the sake of some simplicity work here, so you can see the structure a little bit better. And we've got our player A here, and we've got our player B, and then we're going to knock this out just for the sake of making this easier. So we're going to choose this where they've each picked one player. I'm going to select all of that, and I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard, and I'm going to indent all of that just like so. And now I'm going to add the loop block in here. Okay, so as we go and add this in, you're going to see that we're going to add some different code in here that maybe you haven't seen before. And so this function is going to allow us to pull from the players. So here's our players, and we're going to continue to do this loop as long as the population is greater than 0. And as soon as that happens, then it's going to kick itself out of this loop. So this is why it's important in the early stages here that we've got an even number of names up here. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to add 2 lines of code just so we can see that it's working. So we're going to print Team A. Excuse me. So what's going to happen then when this gets to 0, it's going to kick out of this loop, and it's then going to continue on down here. And I want it to print off the whole Team A roster. So I'm just going to go through here and print Team A. Then I can copy this, and I can just paste this down here. We'll just switch these A's to B. Okay, so here's our list of players to choose from. We're storing our Team A and Team B values. It's going to run this loop till everybody's selected, and then it's going to print out the names. So they're all going to be stored up here in these variables. So let's see if this works. Okay, so what we're looking at here, here's everybody that's chosen, or who to pick from. Team A chose Aaron. Here's what's left. Team B chose Ava. Team A chose Aiden. So then it went through and showed what was left. And you can see here that Team B did not have this player's left option, and that's just because I don't have it in here in the print. So I could actually either copy this in here if I wanted to, and we could run it again. I would choose it each time. Or if that's too messy, I could actually just cut these both out, and we can see just the selection process. So there's that. So you see Team H chose Addie, Aiden, Ava, Amanda, Aaron, Frankie May. Now everyone's been selected. So it kicked out of this loop here because now we're at 0. And then it printed who the rosters are, which is what we had down here in this code. So Team A had Addie, Ava, Aaron. Team B, Aiden, Amanda, Frankie May. And I got poor Frankie name is spelled wrong. No, no respect for the dog. No respect. All right, so there we have that. So you can start to see how we can create some really cool programs, even if we're just learning how to code. So let's move into something that's going to be new for you. And I know we're throwing lots at you, so pause and stop and process and tinker. You don't have to like absorb all this just in the real time of this video. We're going to move into how do we create files. So as we get into this, and so this is great. It's nice to have this up here. But as we start to get into more complex code, this starts to become really messy. This also becomes messy if you start to use much larger databases or things to use. You don't want this running on forever and ever. Your code gets really sloppy. It's hard to find things, and it's just not very well organized. And so in Python, we can create files. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this plus sign here, and this is going to create a new file name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this players.txt. All right. And I'm just going to list the name of the players. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to type these guys in. So I have these typed in already from a previous thing. So I'm just going to paste those in here. I can make this list as long as I want. Still keep this even for the time being. Okay. And now when I get over here, you can see I've got my text here, and this is my code. And so what's going to happen now is we're going to change our code, and we're going to change it in a different way. So let me just throw everything in here, and I'll explain what happens. So before, when we had all the names listed, I've now just had it in an open bracket. So I don't have to type all those in. And here are two new commands that you probably have not used before. All right. So now that our players list is empty here, we're going to open a file. So file, and we're going to open, and you can see in here I've got this players text, which is the name of this text file right here. And then I have this R, which means read only. So it's going to only read the file. It's not going to do anything else but read it. And then my player variable right here, okay, we're going to import, and it's going to read this file. And I have the word split line in here, and that just means it's telling Python. Remember, computers and code are only as smart as what we type in, and so we have to literally tell them everything. And so split line just means that every line in the file is a new item in the list. So this is simply telling them, like, this is a new item, this is a new item, this is a new item. And if we don't do that, it reads it all as one. And so we've got this in here, and now it's going to pull from this list, and the rest of this code is exactly the same as what we had before. We just wiped out all the names up front, and now we're reading from a list. And so when I go to run this, okay, I have it printing again of the players left. And so if I were to knock this out, you can see that it's actually going to be just like what we had before, where we chose A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, and it prints our names. But the cool thing is I can go in here now and I can manipulate this. I can make these any names I want. I can add, take away, and the code doesn't get impacted. It's just going to constantly pull from this text file, which is going to make your life a lot easier, especially when we get into the text adventure gaming coding. You're going to have lots of choices, and you're going to have lots of databases to pull from, and this is just going to make life so much easier. All right. So we've talked a lot about this, but let's say Frankie May just isn't feeling good today. So now we're down to 5 players. We've so far kept things from an even number. But if we move this to an odd, watch what happens. We're going to get an error in our code, um, because what's going to happen is we're going to run out of players as we kind of go through here. And so because the index is going to be, it's going to be out of range when we go through. And so one of the things that we can do is we can add a break in our code. And so as we go through here, all right, and we're reading, we got our players. It's going to pick this player here. All right, it's going to remove that list. It's going to show what's left. And then we have this down here, the same thing we had before. But now we're going to add right here in lines 19 and 20 a break in the action. So a break can actually kick the program out of a loop. And so that's how we can help our program make some decisions. So if the players, in this case, all right, is empty, if it's equal to empty, there's nothing there, then it's going to kick out of the loop. And so when we run this, you can see now that it's just going to kick itself out of the loop, and it's actually going to get down here when we run out of names, and it's going to print that down there. Okay, so I could go in here now and I can add Bob and Mary. I can come back here, all right, and right here, and went through those names, and it kicked out of that loop with Bob. So we got our 7 names, and then it went down here and printed. And so this is a nice way to be able to make some further decisions with your program. It won't get caught in a loop because it can't. You have to tell it when to get out of the loop, because if there's a glitch, it doesn't work perfect. In this case, we have odd participants. We've got to be able to tell it when to get out. So this just helps the program make some decisions. And so you've got a break here that we can put code in. So we're learning lots of great things. We've learned how to add a list. We've learned how to open and read that list and create them as variables. We've touched here then on our loop option again. Here we're learning how to store multiple variables into one variable, or multiple items into one variable. And then we've learned how to kick out of a loop. So this is an awesome day of learning. So the last thing that I want to do is think about a couple other things, and these are some bonus challenges. So could we create random team names? So team A isn't very exciting, nor is team B. Could we have the names be chosen randomly, just like we're doing players? And then can we get that to actually print through in the code? And so what I've got here, I'm just going to paste this in for the sake of time, and this is all on the site, so don't panic when you see all this. But if we go through here, okay, this is all the same stuff we've been doing. Here's our players. We're going to open and read. I'm just going to go through, and we're going to create, we got our players text list. What if we do one that's called team names? And I just create some team names. All right, so I just got a few in there. Don't hate me if you don't like those names. All right. And so what I've got in here is just like we have for players. Here's our team name, and we're going to open up that file. So we're going to open up team name file. We're going to read them, and it's going to print the names of the teams. Okay. So here's the name of the players. Blah 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 blah. Name of the teams. Blah 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 blah. Okay. And then we have down here, I don't have this in the loop because we only need this team name to be chosen one time. So I didn't put it down in the loop like we're picking players. So I have team name 1 is going to be equal to choice. It's very similar to exactly what we did down here. All right. And it's going to choose from the team name list, which is right here, this variable right there. And it's going to print team 1 name is, and it's going to print whatever that is chosen. And then we're going to remove that option because we can't have 2 teams with the same name. And then whatever's left, we're going to do the same thing now with team name 2. It's going to choose from whatever is left from the list, and it's going to add it, it's going to print it, and it's going to remove it. Then we go down here, and we're choosing our players just like we did before. And you can see that's going on, and then it's going to print the names. And so I know this gets a little sloppy, so I'm actually just going to delete out these option here when they print what players are left for the sake of this code. So when we run it, okay, here's all the players. Here are the name options for the teams. Team 1 chose the Bears. Okay, we can even just delete this out of here too. We don't need all this printed what's left. So let's run this again. Team 1 is the Blue Devils. Team 2 is the Irish. Now I have it here. The Blue Devils chose Ava. The Irish chose Mary. So what I did down here, look down here, where I picked before, it used to say Team 1, Team 2. I'm just pulling that variable. So we're going to print team name 1, comma, then the word chose. So I can make this. Now I can, select in the draft. And I can make this, I can make it say whatever. So team name 1, the Blue Devils, select in the draft the name of the player. All right, then I could copy this here. And so I'm using the variables in my code so it becomes more polished as opposed to typing in selective name each time because it's all random, right? And so I can change this code right here too. I can paste that in. I can run that. Now you see how it changes. The Cubs select in the draft Mary, Bears select in the draft Aiden, blah, 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 blah. And then here are the teams. And I can manipulate this code to make this look a little nicer if I wanted to. So you can start to see how we could really create some awesome projects and challenges with this. So as I go through here, you can start to see I'm just storing the names here in another text file. Here's my player text file. And you can see my code is clean, it's concise, it's smooth. And I can add and manipulate these however I want. And this is just going to make life so much easier for you. It gives you so many more options. And so the challenge that I have for you is one, let me know what questions you have, thoughts, things you're stuck on. I would love it if you selected and shared with me your code. What's your code look like? Send me a link to your Trinket. Copy it. You can go up here and you can save it. You can share it, get your link, and just put it in the comments down below in the YouTube. I'd love to see what you've created. Can you actually take this and do it for 3 teams or 4 teams? Can you actually create a different backdrop over here so that it's a different color and it looks like a scoreboard where it looks like the names are being imported into 2 different lists? I mean, there's a lot of different things that we can do with this team chooser. Guys, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you find it exciting. If you need any help, if you go to my site, I've got the specific code embedded in for each step along the way, so you can take a look at the code itself. It's all right in here. You can run it and see how it works. And this video will be posted here as well. And I look forward to hearing from you. If this was helpful, give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and I look forward to the comments down below, seeing your projects down below. And until the next project, stay awesome, keep working, and never give up.